Hello, everyone, and welcome to Voices of Wisdom. I am so incredibly excited for our first guest today. Well, our first and our only, because she is magnificent. And we'll be back tomorrow with someone. But I am so excited for having LaChelle Adkins with us today. It is a perfect timing for this particular topic. She is America's Supermom, and you will find out why in just a few moments. And I am so excited because we're basically talking about the resiliency of the female spirit and heart and being able to get under that unworthiness trigger issue and problem that all women face, being high performers, high achievers as women and moms. All these kinds of things are coming to you in just a moment. But I want to tell you who LaChelle is to me. She is one of, like when you meet somebody and you just think to yourself, that gal gets it. She just gets it. She gets me. She gets my heart. She said 3 words and it's like, oh, I need to know you forever. I need to have you in my life forever, because she just can touch your heart with a few, well-placed words and just a really sincere desire to get to know who you are at your heart. And that is something that has meant so much to me, especially during the pandemic, especially during all the things that have been going on. When I reached out to her, I was like, yeah, you're my people. So I'm excited to get to introduce her to all of you. So here we go. Let's welcome LaChelle Adkins.
Yay! Hey! You are so sweet. Thank you so much for those kind words. And I feel the same way about you. So glad that our paths cross, and just excited for the many collaborations that we'll be doing.
Absolutely. I'm very excited for that, because what you have just a really solid foundation in the work that you've done for yourself, but I think also in the ways that you communicate every day with people, in a way that helps them understand that they're not alone. And we've had this kind of experience in group conversations with people, and you, to me, just really exemplify that ability to maybe even be out of agreement with someone and still be able to just want to pull them close to you and honor who they are. That, to me, is something you can't teach. That is compassion at its core, and it's something that is so desperately needed right now. So I just want you to know I see you in that. Yeah, and happy Mother's Day, Supermom.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I am just here relaxing. You see, it's all quiet. My kids are, who knows what they're doing, okay? I'm just taking a few minutes for myself.
I love it. Tell them what makes you America's Supermom.
Yes, I have 15 children. So we just said it's better with more than a dozen, I guess. No, but yeah, so I was an only child, now mother of 15. My husband and I had 13 together, and I have 2 stepchildren. We currently have 7 that are doing remote learning and 9 of them that still live at home. So yeah, it's nonstop entertainment.
Wow, that's incredible. So when you we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things, but tell people a little bit more about yourself beyond being America's Supermom, or maybe it's all included. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that title came to me because I got a coach after my own stint of depression. I was dealing with depression off and on for 13 years, and I had 3 hospitalizations. And after that last one, I just had this aha, like, I'm the common denominator, so as much as I try to blame my husband, my kids, circumstances, I realized that it was me that had the power to change my story. And so I went into really a time of reflection, was really able to carve out the core reasons, how I had the triggers, fell into that type of victim thinking. and stopped watching the news, TV, pretty much social media. Went in and decided how I was going to be able to overcome depression and maintain it. And it was at that time that I got a business coach, and she was from the UK. And so they had done a feature story on us here in the Atlanta area, and it was titled Supermom. So I had sent her all my footage and different things that I had done. And she said, "Well, you're America's Supermom," because she was from the UK.
Yeah.
So that's how the name came about. But it also was the more I have taken on that name, I've kind of grown into it because a lot of my depression was about living an unfulfilled life. So I was raised an only child, was a very high performer in school. And so I was just on that roadmap of the American dream. And so, I did everything I thought was right, went to college, met my husband, got a degree. However, I was a stay-home mom, never had an example of what that looked like. My mom was an entrepreneur. All my friends and colleagues were career-oriented or entrepreneurs, and no one really could relate to me staying home. So that's kind of where that spiral started, because I felt like I was constantly seeking validation from other people pleasing, just to kind of feel like I was worthy of whatever I was doing. So, and so now looking back, it's like, man, I've just redefined what that American dream looks like to me. I now can say America's Supermom, having that dream the way that works for me, being a mom and a business person. So I'm a TV producer, podcast host, speaker, author, related to raising awareness for mental wellness. And any platform I can get on to talk about the topic, I am willing to, because I think it is a major opportunity to educate women. Because I think if we have the right tools, a lot of the depression, anxiety could be subsided if we just knew how to cope and handle certain things.
Yeah. Do you think it's hard for women to, in general? I think, my mom is tough as nails, doesn't take nothing off of anybody, and do you think certain personalities or certain types of women have a difficult time saying, oh, wait, this is depression, or, oh, wait, I need help? Do you think they have a hard time asking for help, especially if they're the ones that sole provide for the home, for the family, for whatever? I mean, my mom is a single mom, so, that was a big part of it.
Absolutely. Because, in my situation, I was a high achiever. So I didn't even know how to ask for help. That was the first thing, because I thought asking for help was a sign of weakness. Then I was very competitive. So if you're very competitive, you really feel like, man, I got to do this better. You kind of have that comparison situation. And it just is a number of things and then if you feel like you're a high achiever, it's like failure's not an option. So you're driving yourself that much harder and feeling like, you have this invisible standard. Everybody else is saying, hey, you're doing great, but you're like going over the top with the standards that you feel you have to have for yourself.
Yeah, that's true. I was raised single mom, only child. So I feel all of that, in there. High achiever. It is being raised by a single mom too. There was something my mother told me that was very telling, because my father died when I was young, and she told me this recently, and she was like, I was hard on you because if I died, who would take care of you?
Yeah.
Who would be there for you? Like, really be there for you. So her resiliency came from desperation in a way. Yeah. But the long-term effects of things like that can be really detrimental, especially if women feel like they're alone. What can they do to like step up and say, what can they do to like move past that block that that you've obviously had to move through yourself?
Yeah, I think awareness is the first thing. See, I wasn't even aware. So my
Mm.
depression, I believe, went on for so long because I had this attitude that, whatever has to be done, it's just got to get done. There is no room for quitting, having excuses. And so I was like that helicopter mom, feeling like I had to be the God in the situation. Let me make sure they're doing their grades right. Let me make sure they're doing this. And it was very exhausting because I was trying to manage their life, manage my own, manage my husband. I just had that feeling that if I didn't have my hands in it, that I was not doing something right. I should be giving more and doing more. And, the first thing with the awareness was so powerful because when you live life like that, you really suffocate other people and you're making it harder for yourself because you're not allowing them the freedom to be who they are and you just support them. It's a lot better if my kids walk on their own rather than me trying to carry them all on my back. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? But that's
Yes.
what I was doing. Didn't know any better because I thought they couldn't be all they could be without my, specific help. So it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you made the realization, well, you had some difficult,
Mhm.
end, almost life terminating types of situations where it was either I'm staying or I'm going, and making that choice and saying, I think I'm going to stay. What
Mhm.
was that about, if you don't mind talking about it? Because I think that's so huge. The things that you've talked to me about, and I know you've talked to other people about it, if you feel comfortable with it.
Yeah. I think really it's the realization, one, that, like I said, I was on this situation thinking that it was going to be this American dream. I'm doing everything right. Why is my life not working out like I had planned? And I think that's really difficult because, in my eyes, I was seeing that I was doing everything right. However, what was actually playing in my head was the fact that I was feeling like a failure. So even though people would compliment me, my kids were making good grades, my husband was doing good, and having the ability to be a military officer, he was a pastor, and then his job, everybody was thriving. And so everybody looked on the outside like, wow, they just have it all together. But inside, I was beating myself up and feeling like I was a failure. Why? Because I would have this crazy list of things to do every day. So I would only get one or two things done, not take into account that I have like maybe so many kids under the age 6 and I'm breastfeeding and you know what I mean? All this different stuff, and just not really able to clearly have that time to reflect. And so now I'm just in this space to where it's just a non-negotiable to have that self-care. And by that, it is really the self-love that you have to give yourself. You have to love yourself, be patient with yourself. You have to forgive yourself and all these different things that are the basis for a new foundation, because self-care is really just self-maintenance. You really are just maintaining something that should be on the inside, and you're just reminded that you're replenishing that.
Right.
So what I was thinking was just love for my kids. It didn't even come off the way that I was expressing it because it really wasn't love for myself. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't taking that time to get rest or, just having that break, that time to reflect, think about it, get a good night's sleep, all these different things. I was running on empty. So my mindset wasn't even right from the very beginning.
So what was the thing that made you go, all right, I'm staying, we're getting through this, I'm going to do the things that I need to do, I am worthy of this, I'm worthy of a good life? What was that like when you said you made that decision?
Yeah, I think it was really just the realization that, I was the common denominator. So that was the first thing. Every time I'm looking at these hospitalizations, I'm the one that's the common denominator. The second thing was, when I was really able to identify that I was the one who made a decision or didn't make a decision that resulted in where I was today. And so I had to realize that the only way I can empower myself to look at this situation and do something different was to own up to the fact that, okay, I might not have made the best choices, or I allowed certain behavior, or I thought certain things. I had to just get over that, and I had to forgive myself. And I think that's the hardest because,
Yeah.
yeah, I could say, well, my kids, they did what they thought they were doing was right, or my husband, but I had to forgive myself because I remember all those moments that I would take it for the team, so to speak. I would have something that I wanted to speak up about, but I thought, well, I'm just going to let that go. It's not that big of a deal. I'm talking myself out of wanting to speak up about something, and it just created a deeper hole. So once I realized that I could change my situation around and I could be responsible, that was really the turning point. And I had to learn how to weave in my past with my present. And that was a really significant thing to do because I think most people have this situation where they have these bad times, they place them in a box or in a closet, close the door, and think, oh, well, I'm just going to live a different life. We're going to forget about that. But it's those moments that help make you who you are. If I had just locked away 13 years, what about the memories of my kids during those periods of time? So I had to learn how to take the lessons from a dark time and use it to empower me to now begin to talk to women about, the importance of saying no if you feel like you're taking on too much, or establishing boundaries, being disciplined and consistent with time for yourself. All these things I would not have really had the clarity to begin to teach, let alone really incorporate in my own daily routine if I had that mindset that, that's a dark time. Everything with that dark time is just going in this closet and I'm just going to live a new life.
Right. And it's impossible because
Right.
those clothes will start slipping out the bottom of the and then it'll start, bursting out. Like for me, if I've push it down, or I try to just like let it go. I'll just let it go. No, you don't really let it go if you don't actually address it. And or me anyway. So it's kind of that feeling or sense where I'll be doing something, a very innocuous, very neutral event happens, and I'll stub my toe and I will lose my mind, something like that. And it's like, oh, I'm not upset for the reason I think I am. I am upset for the fact that I was raised by a single mom. I'm upset because I didn't feel like I got that level of love, or this level of love, or this person hurt my feelings and never expressed or talked about it, or I didn't uphold my own boundary.
Yes.
Those things, and I got all my energy sucked out, and it's so interesting to be a giver and somebody who wants to love, because it's innate, it's
right.
It's innate. It's something that you and I, and probably just about everybody that's listening right now, has this innate ability to be carers. We care, we love, we want to connect. And sometimes my experience, at least, has been like, I'm trying to give everything to everyone, and then nothing is left for me because I'm believing, like you said, that I'm, playing God in the situation. It's like I've got the answer, and it's like, no, baby, you got the answer. I'll sit here and I'll watch while you figure it out.
So true. So true. And it's like night and day, just being able to have that awareness that, what, I can only control what I do and how I respond. And to me, that's the game changer because, So often I'm thinking, oh, I got to orchestrate this perfect thing for my kids. They've got to do it this way. And, you're an Atkins and we don't do that. And now it's like, it's all about training. It says train up a child in the way he should go. Right. So how are you training them if you're controlling everything? That's not training. It's like you think about a personal trainer, they set the example, they help them with the workouts, but and at the end of the day, you're not going to get the results if you're not doing the work. You can't close your eyes, turn in a circle, do something magical. You got to do the work. So your kids have to do the work, and you have to have that approach to where you understand what your realistic limitations are. And for me, that was a game changer because, it's really the mindset, whatever you believe and think. And that really was the basis to help me to transform, change my whole thought process. And it's a daily work. I just have visual cues. I have a lot of things that are around me that say, be grateful, thankful. I have screensavers on my phone. I set my alarm for certain reminders because it's a work in progress. This was 46 years that I just had this aha to kind of change things around. And with that being the case, you're going to have to do something to interrupt those patterns that have been going on for years in your head. So that's really, it's a work in progress. But one of the things that really was monumental for me too was the book Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Yes.
That book is awesome. And so now I'm all about unlearning and saying, did I agree to this? Would this be something I'd agree to? And it's just been a game changer for me.
Yeah, those touchstone types of books are so huge. Power of Intention was one for me by Wayne Dyer because just learning that I create my reality was huge because it was taking full responsibility. Because I think that's what all of the great masters and teachers tell us. It's us. You're a reflection of me. And we're all together in this thing. We're all one. And it's like, it sounds like rhetoric at some point, but ultimately, if you're suffering, there's something that calls me to you to soothe that. And, and I think, with the women that you worked with, they're like, I know that they know they can come to you and be completely genuine and authentic in their feelings, and probably the only time in their life that they've ever felt safe to do that. I'm just making an assumption here.
It is.
I'm kind of picking it up. Maybe I'm a little intuitive. I don't know.
Well, it really is amazing how that happens. I mean, even children, I go to the store and they just open up like they've known me forever, just talking to me about whatever, all races, ages, genders. And I think there is that element now of really being comfortable with my story. I think a real catalyst for that was the realization that I'm not that person anymore. So, the past happened. It took, some time for me to learn that lesson. However, I'm not that person. So I don't have to attach myself with the feelings of what depression looks like because I'm not there anymore. I'm on the other side and the water's magnificent. So, but I do remember those things, but they don't even have that emotion because I can look at it and say, it's just like the good and bad that takes place at the same time. You can see whatever you choose to see. So it could be good that you get a new car, but somebody else might be bad because you have a car note or whatever the case may be. So both of them exist, but you can look at it and look at the good, or you can look at the bad. I choose to look at the good. So the memory is not even the same for me as it was because I'm out of that dark space. And I know what it's like to be in that dark space. And that lesson that I learned was enough pain for me to realize I don't want to go back there. However, that pain is just really a great lesson that the pain feels the same for different people, regardless of what it is that they experience. So I just know pain is pain, right? So whether you went through depression, you were an alcoholic, you were strung out on drugs, that pain is the same, but the method or the vehicles that we use to try to cope with it are different. So I think if we keep that perspective, we can help a lot of people, but a lot of people want to portray being over something, but they forget that they can relate to the people that are still in that pain. And if you're not able to be transparent and vulnerable with your story, the people who are dealing with that pain, they have an eternal judgment that they think that nobody understands. So you have to be willing to tell your story so that you can lay the judgment off the table and the person can feel safe enough to share.
That's huge. That's so huge. That is honoring. That's honoring you. That's honoring them. That's honoring the story. That's honoring it, because people say, "Oh, well, don't process anything." So we hear that kind of thing, but you got to get to the point where you're not processing anymore. You gotta get somewhere. And the thing is that as many people in this world, there are actually very few, really. Because we have similar stories in many cases, similar paths, similar pain, feelings of pain, like you were saying. It's just a sense of, like I said, we're all connected in this. And when we feel like someone hears us, it touches our soul. I started going to group therapy when I closed my hypnotherapy practice because I was so burned out. Most of the people that came to me were at the end of the tracks, and they just didn't know what to do or where to go. And I was hearing some of the worst things. It's why psychologists kind of get burned out pretty early, only have around a 3 or 4, 5-year career after they get their doctorate, because it's so intense. And so being able to stay present 8 hours a day and never get my bucket filled up, it was very damaging. So I have very, very clear boundaries now in everything that I do.
Oh, sure.
But going to that group, the group's whole sole purpose was that you share, and they say, "Thank you for sharing." They don't try to fix you. They don't try to be any different. They don't try to tell you who you should be or shouldn't be, or why you got into that situation, or how you should have done it differently. They didn't do any of that stuff. Instead, they just listened, and they practice unconditional positive regard. And that to me was very transforming for my life. And so I think that what you do for people, and I'm sure what you've experienced yourself, aids in that whole thing, because that's unconditional love. And that is the thing that changes everything.
So true. And I think that's the one piece that a lot of people miss, because, that was the game changer for me with the 4 agreements, because, you really don't know anybody else's story unless you ask. And everything that you look at is not always what it appears. I know that from my own story. People looked at me and thought I had everything together. And I knew the mask that I was wearing on different occasions, different days of the week, whatever. So I think there's that element of remembering that, so much so that I never make assumptions. I always ask. And I was on a call this weekend that really resonated and hit home for me. It was a kid who was 19 who was talking about his rock bottom experience. And he was talking about how he got so low. He had struggled with depression, but it gave me the reality check that if I didn't have my rock bottom experience, I would never be able to speak for the people that I help, because they wouldn't even been on my radar. I was making good grades. My husband had a good job. My kids were healthy. All these things were going for me. I wasn't even in the same circles with a lot of these people that I talk to and advocate for. So rock bottom was not just for um for me, but it was for other people that I now see and know that I have to go out there and reach and talk to, because otherwise we would not have crossed paths.
Agreed. When I worked with people, I focused on anxiety. I had a panic disorder. And
Mhm.
hypnosis helped me. It helped me to get over my panic disorder and neurolinguistic programming, and helped me open up different faculties and different elements of my own spirituality and growth and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, well, I want to do this for other people. And that being my focus, the thing that I noticed the most is, just speaking to what you're saying here, is that when people with anxiety came to me, they would say, why are you doing this? Or, and I said, well, because I had a panic disorder and I don't now. And I have exactly the right amount of anxiety that I should have to keep me from going down dark alleys. And that's an acceptable amount of anxiety. And so, learning how to reframe it and help people understand what's good about anxiety, what's hard, what's easy, how you can shift it, how you can change it. Not because I read it out of a book.
Right.
That somebody else experienced. And so I'm kind of like negotiating with it. Instead, it was, no, baby, I got you 100%. And I know exactly how you feel right now. You feel like you're going to jump right clean out of your skin and jump into a totally different dimension. I understand, and they would say that, they would say, thank you. This is the first time I've ever felt like somebody understood what I was going through. And that makes a tremendous difference. So guys, you guys watching, like, if you've come through something, this is one of the things that some of my authors have said in the past. They said, well, why should I say anything about my life? Why should why even put it out there? And I said, because somebody needs to hear it. Somebody needs to see someone like them in this world.
So true.
They don't feel alone.
Yeah, so true. Because, as much as we think that we will draw people to us in our highlight reels, the more we distance ourselves from them. Because, what happens is they create a fairy tale from just the images that they watch. It's so funny. Like, we can ride next to somebody who is in a BMW, Maserati, whatever kind of car you like. And we just assume, wow, they probably live in a nice house. They've got this car. It could be the mechanic that's test driving it to make sure that something was repaired on it. You know what I mean? But we don't even think about it. We just go immediately to fairy telling about what their life is just because of this one snapshot that we see without knowing all the facts. So I think it's really important for us to kind of pause, to think about it and, reflect. And I think it's always that aspiration of the person being perfect and that element that you can't have it for whatever reason. You're not worthy.
Right. It gets into that comparison.
I'm just like, how do you go from that when it's like, you can go to any dealership. Yeah, the car may be a certain price point, but if you earn that income, or if you work or have whatever assets, or you decide not to eat out and spend your money on a car payment instead, I mean, it's not that you're not worthy. I mean, I don't understand how we get that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's see. I want to say Marita. Or Marita, maybe? I don't want to say it wrong, but I'll do that. She says, I have MS, wheelchair bound, keeping my faith, but depression and anxiety makes everything hard. Do we have anything from her?
Well, I'd say, at first, thank you so much for sharing.
Yes.
I definitely understand that it is a challenge when we, we feel like we've got a lot against us, whatever that looks like. But I will say that mindset can change everything. When we begin to look at things differently, we can begin to change our reality. And I was listening to someone last week, and she is a coach that helps people with their mindset. And so she said that she struggled with money issues for her clients. What she would do is she would put her limitations on her clients before she even talked to them. And so she said, I'm getting out of that. I want to be able to get clients that don't make payments. They just pay the lump sum up front. And as a result of her changing her mindset and doing these practices, breathing, just manifesting, it's been happening. Now, the reason why that was profound for me is you can begin to attract whatever you believe, whether you've had evidence of it happening or not. So she didn't have any evidence about getting a client with a lump sum. She just started manifesting it by her belief, and it was being attracted to her because your brain doesn't really know the difference, whether it's a memory or it's really happening. So beginning to think about, how do you want to feel? Depression and anxiety is such a heavy thing. It's no smiling, it's no enthusiasm, it's no energy. All the things that are negative are pretty much associated with those type of situations. So you can choose to decide that you're going to be happy. Now, being happy does not always mean that you're going to have everything turn out the best way possible. I just got home from burying one of my great aunts who was 96 years old. So you're going to have death, you're going to have COVID-19 type situations or whatever the case may be that are out of your control. However, you can determine how you want to feel about it. Every day it is my intention to wake up and be happy. So whether I get good news, bad news, I still can, from my inner core, decide to respond to whatever that is from a place of happiness. And that may be, it's happy if I'm patient. It's happy if I'm listening to somebody. It's happy if I'm helping them get through a challenging situation. So you can begin to determine, how do you want to feel, and do the things that make you feel good about that. Do you feel good listening to music? Do you feel good going out and just sitting in the sunshine, on the front porch, listening to the birds? Begin to create little pockets of time that help you create that feeling that you like, and just keep building it and building it and building it. Even if you have to set a timer, if you have to set a timer, hey, usually around lunchtime, you're on autopilot thinking negative, set a timer, you're beautiful. You're not limited by what man says or what doctors say. You're choosing to be the best version of yourself, whatever that may be. So I hope that would give you value. And mhm.
That's huge. The thing, and please know, it's not, you're not coming from a place of, well, I've thought about it or I've read about it or somebody told me about it. This is core stuff for you and your development through depression and your past and working with it yourself and things that have worked for you. For me, I have been, so I was always that either one side or the other of the coin. I was either anxious or I was depressed. And often the depression would follow the anxiety because I was all out of cortisol. It was a very chemical thing. And so, and they so inform each other, and they're the snake eating its tail. And it's very, very challenging because you just don't feel like you can ever get out of the loop. And what you're suggesting here helps to break down those patterns and get out and do something. So there have been times where I've been so depressed, I'm just laying on the couch, tears are rolling down my face. I don't even have the energy to fully have a cry. It's like just the tears come down, and it's like, I can't, there's nothing I can do. I still have bouts with it sometimes, but since I can't take a medication, because medication is, I'm allergic to it, it becomes problematic. So it's like, all right, so I've just got to deal with this. And sometimes it's just, okay, I'm going to roll onto the floor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm gonna roll on the floor. I'm gonna get on my hands and knees. I'm gonna walk my ass out to the patio, and I'm gonna sit in a chair. And sometimes that's the best I can do, you know. And so, you know, it's like, all right, so here I am. I've done something different. I've done something new. Now let's see. Let's see what happens next. And so it's and what I found is that I've gotten energy. You know, some energy kind of pulls in, and I'm like, okay, here we go. So now, what thing do I have in front of me to accomplish, to do, or not to do? Is it time for a nap? Was that enough for today? I got out to the chair.
Yes. Well, you know, that is huge that you would say that, because we can be so much on autopilot. You know, in my case, I didn't even realize I was on autopilot. I was just in survival mode, so I wasn't really thinking, and I was numb to a lot of stuff. There were major monumental things that kept me to a certain space of my awareness, but a lot of that was just being on autopilot. So when you have those situations, that's why I set my phone. If you have to set your phone for an alarm every hour, it's the transition, it's the interruption of that autopilot that helps to begin to retrain yourself into a different way of thinking. And I love that you mentioned that, because we're not going to automatically know how to do this. Your brain is lazy. It likes to do what it's already set up. It's like a record that just keeps playing. So if you just stand up, clap your hands, you know, stretch your arms up, anything to kind of interrupt the pattern is sometimes all you have to do to just kind of get into that reality that you can control even your feelings. If it's not serving you, you know, hey, this is not working. You know, let me turn on some music, or let me go scream out the door. Okay.
Oh my God. If I screamed out the door, all of my neighbors would come running. They'd be like, Kira, what is wrong with you? And I'll be like, I don't know, but did you bring pie?
Right.
Like, don't come to my house without pie. What's wrong with you?
I love that. I love that. Yes. But yeah, you know what I mean? We got to begin to do that kind of stuff. And the best way to plan those things are when you're not in that state. So even if you have to just have a notebook and you write some things down, oh, I'm going to polish my nails, or I'm going to do whatever. And then when you get in that state, you just go and grab some things. You know, sometimes you're not going to feel like it. You know what I mean? You're not going to feel that way until you actually do it. It's not that you can sometimes feel it, then create it. You sometimes got to do it and then feel it as you're doing it, if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes total sense. Because it's that believing is seeing instead of seeing is believing, right? It's a very different concept. You know, I have to believe that I can move out of depression. I have to believe that I can feel peaceful in the face of anxiety. I have to believe that it's okay to feel those feelings too, and it's okay to own them and to just work with them and do a different thing. And it's huge. So one of the things that helped me tremendously was Falun Gong, similar to Tai Chi, similar to Qigong. So that body movement piece. And it's not hard, because I don't want to work out.
Right.
I just want to like do something a little different.
You want to get the results, girl. Okay. Don't want to do the work. I feel you.
I don't want to get on a treadmill. I'm already mentally doing this thing, right? So it's like, but I can like, flow my arms, flow my breath, breathe, all the things that you were talking about too. You know, clap my hands, smack my arms a little bit, wake up my chi, wake up my energy, because that helps me to break out some of that as well. So, you know, I cannot tell you how grateful I am, because this really does feel like a masterclass of the actionable steps that people can take when it comes to being a high performing mom or woman, you know, trusting yourself, loving yourself enough to make sure you have good boundaries. We can get into boundaries, I bet that would be a whole other masterclass.
Yes.
You know? But being worthy and letting yourself share with people who you can trust to love you in the situation that you're in, and recognizing, wait a minute, I know everybody else thinks this is all okay, and I look like I'm doing it all right. But how do I feel? Do I feel amazing?
True.
That's and that's what you're teaching us all to look at. And so I really appreciate that.
Yeah. And you know, that boundaries piece is huge. One thing I will say about boundaries is, you know, it's the same thing like a budget or a spending plan. People look at the negative of it, but it is, you know, you would have a gated community, or you would have a gate around your house to keep your house safe. So that's just the same thing with the boundary. Or you would lock your door at night when you went to bed. The boundary is the door being locked, right? Nobody's going to cross it without the key. So you have to think about, there are things that are just there to protect you, because this way you don't have to always have a power struggle over things that don't serve you. So if I know that, you know, people will constantly challenge the time that I say I'm not available for work, right? Then I'm going to set a boundary and just not answer the phone after a certain time. Now, you know, it's nothing personal, but people just didn't want to honor it. So, hey, instead of keep arguing or telling the person for the 90th time, it's like, I'm just not going to answer the phone. It's lined out in my contract or whatever. I don't do weekends or whatever that boundary may be. So you don't have to argue about it all the time.
That's huge, because I mean, that's one of the hardest things that I have kind of come to terms with myself in my business, is because when you first start a business, this is great for anybody in a business right now, listen, is that when you first start a business, you are everything to everyone, because you are trying to get the thing off the ground. You are just bare knuckling through the whole thing. You're sweating blood, sweat, and tears, trying to just see, can I make money? You know, can I make money? Can I survive? Can I be of service? Can I do all of this simultaneously? Can I do it? Can I still enjoy my life at the same time? But you're just getting through it. And that to-do list is massive. And so, yeah, having those good boundaries can be hard, especially if your business model changes throughout your career. And some of the things that, you know, it's like, it's just such an interesting thing, because, and I don't even want to say too much about it, but it's so, a friend of mine said this. She said, you know what? I can be tight in the beginning and loosen up. But if you're loose in the beginning, it's much harder to tighten later on.
That's right.
Right? Because everybody's like, well, why are you hurting my feelings?
Exactly.
I'm like, I'm not. I'm trying not to hurt my feelings.
Exactly. And see, that's the whole thing. Look, we're looking at the wrong thing, right? Well, a lot of these decisions we make on, oh, I don't want to hurt their feelings, but, you know, is your business set up to think about people's feelings, or is it to be successful? You know, certain things you have to do whether you feel like doing it or not. You know, if you don't print or publish something, you're not going to make any money. Now, is that based on somebody's feelings? It's like, you just got to get it done. So we confuse these terminologies with things that are not related, like somebody feeling like they're not worthy to charge a higher price. The issue with that is, if you're given value that people would pay for, what has worthiness got to do with it? You know what I mean? So if I say, hey, I have a bed and breakfast, I'm going to charge you $1,000 a night, but you're going to get picked up from the airport in a limousine. You're going to have roses. If I start adding on the value, you would definitely see why you're paying that much. But the issue we have is we don't recognize the value, and we don't know how to convey that to the client. So the first thing we start doing is doubting, trying to convince them rather than explaining to them the value and how that's going to transfer for them.
Right. And I'll tell you that value doesn't include 24-hour service.
Right.
from
Not unless
Pure
they
or
pay for it.
LaChelle.
You see what I'm saying? Now, look, if they say, hey, $5,000, for a couple sessions, I'm going to be flying to your house and doing a one-on-one. You see what I'm saying? But we don't even think about that. We don't think about, well, if you want to, I try to say yes. When it comes to business, I try to figure out how I can say yes. So if people start saying things, it's like, okay, well, what value is that to you? Okay, because normally my hours may be 8 hours, but if you want me available as a retainer type situation, what's your budget for that? That's a very easy way to ask that question. And then they'll think, oh, well, I hadn't considered it. Well, my hourly rate is X. So if you want it to be 24 hours, let's negotiate that value. That's a lot easier conversation rather than you're saying, I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm afraid they're going to reject. I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with it. We're talking about, what you're going to be doing for the client.
Right. My dog is choking. She's like, my dog is like, oh my God, we're talking about boundaries. Hold on. Oh my gosh. Well, I could talk to you literally for 24 hours, which would be absolutely priceless. Priceless. You are the Hope Diamond of all of this. So thank you. I'm so grateful to have you and call you my friend and call you someone that I believe that I could respectfully while you uphold your boundaries ask you for help.
Yes, absolutely.
How do people get in touch with you so that if they do need some help or they want to connect with you and the things that you're doing in the future, because everybody needs you in their life?
Oh, thank you. The best way is LinkedIn or Instagram. I do have my website, LaChelleAdkins.com, but they can find me on either one of those platforms through LaChelle or America's Supermom.
Okay. And then they can find you with LinkedIn and Instagram through your website as well. Right? Awesome. All right. Here is LaChelleAdkins.com. Please go out and visit her. See what she is up to. She has got so much wisdom, so many awesome things that she can share. And I'm so incredibly grateful for you. Thank you for joining us today. I just love you, darling. Ever since I met you, I was like, I need her in my life.
Love you too. And thank you so much for having me. And thank you for this topic. I think is very important, especially right now. A lot of moms, we deal with a lot of, I think it's us just trying to be overachievers, about things and not giving ourselves the space to breathe, to slow down, to think about how we can work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Please check out LaChelle Adkins at LaChelleAdkins.com. You can also find her on LinkedIn and Instagram. And again, thank you so much for joining us. We have only one day left. One day. I cannot believe it. It has been such an adventure and so much fun. And so many amazing voices have come forward for Voices of Wisdom to share. And that's what it's all about, allowing ourselves to come through things and then share about them because somebody is going to benefit. Thank you again to Liz Donahue at Mishka Productions and Celebrate Your Life for offering us her platform as well. And thank you to all of our speakers that have come before and those that will come again in the future. Yes. For bringing their wisdom and thoughts to us. You have a great day.
Bye everybody.